Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Spacemen From Pluto Podcast. I'm your host for today, Christian, and joining me as usual is...
Ben,
Dan,
and James.
So today, we're going to be having another sort of monster-centric podcast. For those of you who don't know, Godzilla Vs Kong came out literally today as we are recording. And we've all gone off, watched it, so we're going to have like a little review, a little talk, maybe a little talk about some other monsters that we'd want to see square up with Godzilla. So yeah, we're going to go straight into the review first. For those of you who don't want to hear spoilers and haven't seen the film yet, we're going to do a little spoiler-free section at the beginning, and then we'll leave you a time code to skip the spoilers. Here. Right here. This spot. Time code. Ben, sort it.
alright.
And before we start, give us a like, subscribe, it really helps us out. We really need people to like.
Like us.
get
Yes.
that algorithm working for
Come
us.
Come on.
With your likes.
Please.
I like us. I think we're nice guys.
See, that's the problem. I don't even like us, so the chances of just randomers liking us.
Yeah.
No. Come on.
Well, dislike us then. Do something. Engage in some way.
Interact!
Give us a dislike. Prove you're listening. Give us a dislike.
They're not listening there, that's the
Yeah.
problem.
In fact, we're already a few minutes in. If you've listened past the first few seconds,
Well
go down and comment. Go down and comment. Godzilla is the best. Big monkey sucks.
Oh my God. He's giving
Wow.
an opinion. He's going in. Do you want to start off, Christian? Because you're the fan here, really.
Yeah,
The bigger fan.
I am a
Biggest
big fan of the monster films. I enjoyed Kong Skull Island. I enjoyed Godzilla King of Monsters. I thought Godzilla 2014 was boring and long.
A little bit.
There's too much human stuff. And as for Godzilla vs Kong, it was alright.
It's perfectly fine.
Yeah. I didn't think it was as good as King of Monsters.
I would agree.
I thought that King of Monsters did a better job. This one, again, I would say, like 2014 Godzilla, not quite as bad, but it still has a lot of human stuff that I don't care about.
Yeah, it's literally the first 30, 40 minutes. It's just humans and
Yeah.
some... I don't say... Oh, yeah, it's going to veer off. But yeah.
Yeah.
And after the first half an hour, it kind of picks up.
But it's like there's a fair amount of Kong in this film, but he's just kind of there. Like he's not really. There's not as much fighting in it as you'd hope. He's not really doing anything that a regular-sized monkey couldn't.
Yeah, that was another issue I had. They kind of showed off a lot of the fight scenes
All of the fight
in the
scenes.
trailers.
Well, not quite all.
I was going to say, I think there's one that isn't in the trailer. The fighting's good. I enjoy it. It's two monsters slapping each other about. It's it looks pretty good. Like the CGI's all right on them. They've done quite well to get sort of Godzilla looking big, angry, scaly, Kong looking giant, furry, and I like the little bits of grey that they've given him. To show that he's older than he was in Skull Island.
Yeah, I will say I thought like the CGI was pretty solid, especially since they were showing off how good they had it when they put them in water and then they put Kong in snow, like maybe the two hardest like elements to do fur with. Like you got to make it look good when Kong's getting out of the water and there's just all the water vapor when he moves and stuff.
There was a lot going on there, wasn't there? Don't you think, Ben? It was like there was a lot. It's like that Rick McCallum quote, like every frame is so dense.
Yeah.
It's like there is an awful lot going on, and
It's so
I don't
dense. It's so dense.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like I only half watched this. Sorry.
How unlike you, Dan.
But it seemed to be exactly what I had predicted in a previous podcast. Not to blow my own trumpet too much or anything.
I feel like this film's just a bit like Justice League 2017 in that it's been leading up. It's kind of their culmination film of, you had the first Godzilla film, you've had King of Monsters, you then got Kong Skull Island. We've been leading towards this fight, like this team up. It happens. It's kind of like, oh, okay, it's just not that epic. It's just a bit flat for the film that you've been leading towards. Like it should be your payoff, and it feels like a bit of a okay.
I don't really know what you expected, James. This was kind of exactly what I expected. It's just a big fight.
Well, it wasn't though. There wasn't nearly enough fighting in it, and I felt like even the fights were the act right. So we'll get into spoilers now. Then, if we're moving towards that, the actual Kong vs Godzilla fight is really fucking short.
But you can tell
like,
why.
They barely fight.
But we know why though, because it's obviously like a budget thing.
Maybe, but it was almost like exactly like Batman vs Superman. They have all this lead up, they finally have a little bit of a fight. One of them gets beaten, then they team up for another one. They even had the whole thing of the way they beat this one they have to team up to is they use the weapon that one of them brought to the fight. It's just mental how much it actually reminded me of Batman vs Superman.
It is very similar.
Batman v Superman's not... That's stolen from something else, isn't it? That's just the generic they fight for a bit and they team up, I think. I can't think of an example.
Well,
I was
it's
say
like
Civil War.
It's not like the Batman v Superman invented that wheel.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, when that was famously not very well received, why would you try and recreate that?
I was going to say it did even have that whole sort of like Godzilla standing above Kong and roaring in his face, almost as if to say, "I'm not really here to fight you, like, chill out."
I took it as Godzilla won.
Yeah.
So me and Christian were right. I think I said Kong. I think I
was
said
going to say,
Kong.
you both said you thought Kong would win, but Godzilla should win.
Yeah. So I was basically right.
So no, you were wrong.
No, I was basically right.
I mean, I would have preferred Godzilla to win a bit more definitively, like Kong gone.
We'll see. Here's the thing.
We don't need more Kong films.
In the other
Kill
films,
Kong.
Godzilla has ripped animals' heads off and absolutely murdered them. But it's quite convenient that for Kong, he just leaves him to die for a bit so that the humans can save him, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all very convenient. It's very conveniently written. Like, it's strange that I would have done it where they're kind of about to kill each other, and then Mechagodzilla turns up, and then they kind of go, "Oh, stop! Let's both take." Because why now would Godzilla just walk away?
I will. I will say that I almost 100% predicted the beats of this film just from the first trailer. I called before they'd even announced it that Mechagodzilla was in this film. Just from that little frame, it was like, red eyes, get Mechagodzilla.
So weird to put that in your trailer.
And I pretty much called how it was going to go down. It was going to be, Kong versus Godzilla, then they'll team up to fight Mechagodzilla. They'll defeat Mechagodzilla in... The only bit I didn't predict was like the... journey to the center of the earth, hollow world stuff.
I didn't like that.
I did, because it just went off the rails. It just and I thought it was so bizarre. They put in this landscape, this large landscape in the film there's no humans, so you can kind of just go for it in terms of collateral damage, and then they just don't go back to it.
Yeah.
And I thought, there's a bit where there's no gravity. We're gonna have a no gravity fight. There's the elements are all in the way. There's other creatures. Godzilla's he'll shoot down and go down, and they'll have the fight down there. And then they just kind of just bin it off, and Kong sits in a throne. There's a key hammer thing.
I liked the actual place. I liked the landscape. I liked how it looked. That was fine. But it was just they were suddenly in spaceships flying through these portals to City Earth. What is going on? Where is this coming from? We've not had any of this.
I was on board for it. I loved it.
It was 2001 weird. A Space Oddity shot where it's the world bending and it does the close-ups on their face. It was
I asked Ben actually, is this set in the future? And he was like, no. He was like, no, it's not set in the future. Also, because the way that they'd done Hong Kong and everything, it looked really sort of 20 years into the future.
Like Neo Hong Kong type.
Yeah, and they're essentially flying. They were in a flying car or something like that. It looked like something out of Halo, and apparently it wasn't. And then they go to the center of the Earth, and it's like it's quite an interesting aesthetic and everything.
But the other thing that immediately set me on a little bit of a bad path with this film was the opening credits. They did a similar opening credits to both the Godzilla and the Kong films, with the names coming up in the news stories, and immediately the end credits do the Kong folder coming up next to the Godzilla folder, but you can see behind them that all the other kaijus and monsters that were awoken in King of Monsters just been murdered off screen. They're all dead.
Oh yeah, the King of there was the big mammoth. Mammoth.
Oh, Mothra didn't come back. Rodan didn't come back. All those monsters that bowed down to Godzilla, he just murdered them all off screen.
I forgot that. Oh yeah,
Rodan,
I like the mammoth.
Rodan died at the end of it, didn't he?
No, I'm pretty sure he bows down.
I don't know. I thought Mothra died as well. Or did
No,
Mothra
no.
die and come back?
Mothra kind of dies and then cocoons.
Yeah.
I really thought that it was going to be a case of Kong was going to beat, knock Godzilla down, and Mothra was going to turn up and revive Godzilla, and Mothra just wasn't. They didn't do any of the other
They did that in
kaijus.
King of Monsters, though.
They did, yeah.
If you have another one where Godzilla gets beaten and they have to do something to bring him back, it's like, oh, come on now.
We did that with Kong.
Yeah, but it's not quite the same.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, in the I even predicted how they were going to bring King Kong back just based on the original King Kong versus Godzilla, because in that Godzilla is weak to electricity and Kong can harness it. So in the original film, Kong will grab hold of pylons and he'll get electric charged fists when he punches him. So I was like, oh, Kong's died. Oh, they're going to hit him with a charge of electricity. And when they turn around and they're like, oh, we're going to need enough electricity to power Vegas, I was like, I knew it. I called it.
I'll be honest, because both in Skull Island and early on in this, we see Kong use a tree as a weapon. And that's why I thought he would win the fight, because you've got the versatility of he's smarter, he can use weapons, he's got speed on his side. They didn't do any of that. They gave him one weapon.
Yeah, I quite liked it when he jammed it down his throat, though.
It was cool.
The jamming it down his throat.
More of it.
The jamming it down his throat was a nice little maneuver, because it calls back to the original where he jams a tree down his throat to stop him from doing the same thing.
And again, I thought that's what it was going to be. I thought he does something to take out his atomic breath, which got an actual name drop in this, like you were saying in the files. There is actually, it comes up on the screen saying it's officially called atomic breath in this world, which I thought was cool. One thing I will ask: how do we feel about the Mechagodzilla design?
The hands are awful.
The whole thing just looked off to me. I didn't gel.
It looked. I mean, I will say
it didn't look silly enough. Mechagodzilla does look a bit naff, and this felt like it was trying to be too serious.
I don't know. I will say that if you look at the toys, and especially the Pop Funko, they look abysmal. I saw the designs for it come out in toy and what's it form, and I was like, this looks awful. And then when it turned up in the film, I was like, okay, it mostly looks good. It's shiny, but I hate the claw hands. In the original, he has actual Godzilla hands, but the claws turn into missiles. That's way better than having claw hands.
To be fair, all Pop Funkos look a bit crap though, don't they? So
tell that to my sausage dog.
So it was Ghidorah's skull.
Yes, yeah, which I called.
But there was still but there was still some brain activity left in a skull.
Go on, Chris, you can explain it.
Yeah, it was Ghidorah's head, and they were wiring through his neural. Basically, they explain it because they say that there's a throwaway line early on where a character says, "Oh yeah, it's Ghidorah's head. His necks were so long that he had to telepathically communicate between his own heads. So they're using his neural link to telepathically communicate with Mechagodzilla, but then when they overcharge him, it transfers his mind into Mechagodzilla, which is why it blows it out.
Makes sense.
I said that it was going to be like Mechagodzilla's brain. That Mechagodzilla's brain was going to be Ghidorah's, because I will say I'm a bit disappointed they didn't have an after credit scene, because I really thought there was going to be the rest of Ghidorah's body, because they also have Mecha King Ghidorah, who is a character who is normal King Ghidorah, but one of his heads is a robot head. And I was like, they've set it up perfectly. They've cut off exactly one of his heads.
Do you guys thought it was a shame or funny that the 98 Godzilla had like better characters or more interesting, memorable characters?
See, I was about to say one of the things I liked about this one, I thought Julian Dennison, the kid from Deadpool 2, was great in this film. I really enjoyed him.
But this is a whole other point. What is it with these films, putting kids in these films? Why a 17-year-old? Why is this woman dragging I know why. Why is this 6-year-old in these situations?
Because she's looking after him.
I know, but you can't just rewrite it. What they should have done: have her as a 6-year-old in the first one as the native, and then she's like in her 30s, 40s by this one. Then you can have an actual adult.
It's probably because they're sort of they're family films now. These films, aren't they? I suppose even like
Kong versus Godzilla.
Yeah,
fun for all the family.
Like Godzilla 98 was probably a different type of family film. Of that time.
I will say that Godzilla 98 has a lower age rating than this film did.
Interesting. What is this, a 15?
No, 12.
12. Oh, it's Godzilla PG.
Godzilla 98 is a PG.
Oh,
that's amazing.
Oh, I was going to say, I would have thought that'd be a 12A.
I suppose.
No, PG.
So, maybe it was before the 12A rating came in.
Maybe.
Yeah, but like none of the characters were just so nothing.
The only character
I really enjoyed the kid from Deadpool 2, like genuine, like the bit when he rocks up and Millie Bobby Brown's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go meet the guy for the podcast. Like, should we really be meeting a strange man for the internet? I mean, we just had an assembly about this. It was great. He had so many good lines.
Yeah, he has good lines.
Yeah.
What's his character?
He's the funny one.
I was gonna say, I thought his lines were good. I thought, but he needed more like character establishment. The only character that I actually liked was Bernie, the podcast guy.
Oh man,
he was okay.
God, he was annoying.
I'm quirky, aren't I? Weird. I make my own hand sanitizer.
Every other character could have been killed off in that film, and I wouldn't have cared.
Yeah,
like especially Millie Bobby Brown. God, she was irritating.
So annoying, man. Where's Jean Reno and the boys? It would have been so much better.
What are they up to today, you know?
No, Millie Bobby Brown and Alexander Skarsgård were literally the two worst parts of that entire movie.
There was a bit when he was like explaining some sciencey stuff. I was like, if I close my eyes, it's literally Stellan Skarsgård in Avengers. Like, they sounded so similar.
It does make sense.
Well, yeah, no, I know, but I mean, like the voice and like the cadence and everything. I was like, oh, this is weird.
There was just way too much human stuff, and there was points where like we'd be mid-fight and they had cut into like the cockpit of that hover vehicle, and I'd be like, I don't care. I really don't care. I came here to see Godzilla vs Kong, not Godzilla vs Kong in the background while the humans run away. I don't care. That's not why I'm here. I think it's just another film in the long line of films that has been hindered by its advertising campaign. Like you said, Christian, it showed they fight twice, and it showed both of them in the trailer. Yeah. I really thought after Mechagodzilla was defeated, they were going to fight a third time, because the music kicks in, Kong turns round and has his axe in hand, Godzilla roars at him, and then Kong drops the axe, and I was like, oh, Kong's going to go in, like, minus the axe to show that he's king and he doesn't need a weapon. This is actually going to be a good fight. And then Godzilla turns around and goes into the sea and disappears, and I was like, what? I would have found it just like, oh, God, not another fight. 'Cause it's like, it's like in Man of Steel when they destroy the city, and then he fights Zod. I was like, oh, God.
Or like in Godzilla 98, where the film ends, but then starts.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been gratuitous, but I was like, but no one won. Like they said, there was going to be a definitive
one.
Godzilla won.
Like Godzilla won, but
definitively won that fight.
He said, "Oh yeah, there's going to be a definitive end." That means one of them dies. In my mind, one of them should not have been able to fight again.
I think definitive means there is a clear winner.
Yeah.
And the clear winner was Godzilla, but he just
he
did just let him go for no reason.
Yeah.
There was a sort of a moment where it cut to Godzilla, and he had this moment of, I could kill you, but I'm going to let you go. And they both roared at each other. And Godzilla did this dead weird sort of respectful bow. He was like, no. And then sort of just backed away.
I was going to say there's a sign.
What?
They do that like they do all that sign of respect stuff at the end. I'm like, no, don't sign of respect him. He's weak and rip his head off.
No, that last shot of Kong where he's kind of like looking out into the sea as Godzilla's like submerging. He's like, he's all right actually. He's all right. Looking at him with respect. It's like, he's not so bad, this Godzilla guy.
You could be my wingman.
Yeah. I did like the bit. I did notice during the final fight the bit where Godzilla drop kicked Mechagodzilla or something. That was, that was quite good. That was a highlight. It's ridiculous.
I really
so
wish
agile for someone so big.
I really wish they'd done the Godzilla drop kick, because it looks ridiculous in the old cartoons, but he literally like runs, jumps, and then skates on his tail. Yeah. So he's like perfectly 90 degrees skating on his tail to drop kick things. And I was like, please just do more like homages to the ridiculous moments of the old film. Like when they flew Kong to the Arctic with all the helicopters. That's great and all, but literally in the original Japanese version, they just strap balloons to him, and he's in literally the worst possible position. Like both of his arms are up, one of his legs is up, and one of his legs has no balloon, so he's left dangling. He's in the most uncomfortable looking position, floating across Japan with balloons.
Like at least that.
And I was like, do that.
There's less risk of human death then, because we during that scene, me and Danny were laughing like, what if Kong just wakes up and just freaks out? All those choppers are just dead, crashed in. You know, oh.
It was great as well when like Kong's sort of a bit tired throughout the film. A bit tired out from fighting and stuff, and he steadies himself on like skyscrapers. He's causing billions of pounds of damage just by like just putting his hands on them. It's like just does not care at all.
I was too old for this.
It's the bit where like Kong and Godzilla meet for the second time in Hong Kong, and Godzilla like roars and smashes his hands out and breaks a building, and then Kong like throws the axe into like a gas station that explodes, and then slams his hands down and roars back. And I was like, man, they're causing damage just by like squaring off.
Yeah, man. That's why I thought they wrote in that other world to avoid that.
Yeah.
It's the where do you leave Kong at the end of it? Because I'm assuming this is where their mind has gone with it. They're like, well, they can't both be on this surface because they're these whole, you can't have two alphas. So if Kong's off in his own world, Godzilla's okay with that.
Do you reckon there'll be another film after this?
Yes. I'm surprised there was no post-credit scene. I don't know where they can go with it now, but I think there will be more. Yeah.
Honestly, I thought they were building up to one of three things. They're either going to do Godzilla versus Mecha King Ghidorah, because, more mecha characters, why not? They're going to start bringing in the ocean creatures, because there's quite a few of them that they've not done yet. Or they're going to relate it to Pacific Rim somehow, just so they can have a giant Jaeger that resembles the old mech from the Godzilla films, Jet Jaguar, and have that come in and have Godzilla fight a giant mech.
Well, that's kind of what they did. Like when the guy was like neural linking in and piloting Mechagodzilla, like this is very Pacific Rim.
Do you not think the bit when they say, "Oh, it's a Robo Godzilla"? No, it's Mecha Godzilla. Was not like the worst.
Most eye
rolling.
I just don't.
I proper winced.
See, the thing is, right? Okay. You say that, but then when we watch Godzilla 98, you complain that it wasn't dumb and stupid enough.
But it's like that's just really poor writing. That's not knowing it's dumb. That's just them.
Dumb.
That's just
he
really
might as well have
poor
winked
on
into
the
camera when he said it.
But there is a fine line. Jean Reno putting on an Elvis accent is dumb fun. Yeah. This kid just going, no, it's Mechagodzilla. It's just like, it's really dumb. The bit when Jason Statham says, it's a Megalodon, that's mint.
What's the difference?
Because I think it's like, a Megalodon is probably some sort of scientific term that they already... Yeah, that's a real word that they already know as part of their job. That kid has just thrown it out because... because we know it. That's why it doesn't work.
Well, there you go. That's the point. It's very tongue in cheek.
If he'd have straight away gone, it's a Mecha Godzilla, I'd have probably been fine with it because it'd have been ridiculous and dumb. But the fact that he turns around first and goes, a Robo Godzilla, I was like, please don't say it. And then he goes, no, it's a Mecha Godzilla. I was like, oh.
It's also like they didn't give it to like a super serious character either. The fact they gave it to the comic relief shows that it is just supposed to. You're not supposed to take it seriously. It's supposed to be a bit of a
I mean, it is a film about a giant monkey and a giant lizard fighting each other. You can only take it. There's only a certain level. There's a ceiling basically to how seriously you can take this.
This is what I said to you, Dan, in the third act. I was like, this is what cinema was invented for. A big monkey fights a big lizard, and they're fighting a big robot lizard. Like, the guy that invented film didn't think.
When we watched Journey to the Moon the other day, where he could have foreseen.
Trip to the Moon, yeah.
All right, sorry, Ben.
Yeah, it was.
I forgot you've got a film degree.
Well, you've got a master's, mate, but you don't know what Trip to the
Moon is. Not in film.
No, it's.
I don't know what I've got a master's in. What is it?
It is one of the...
don't know where it is. Who's got it?
No, it is one of them things, like, the weird thing about these Godzilla and Kong films is that they do the dumb stuff but also try and take themselves seriously.
At what point do you think we're going to get to the point in films where we have, like, Jason Statham fighting King Kong, and he delivers the final blow right before saying "so long, Kong," and then fires the rocket at him because you know it's coming.
This was my biggest problem with that Dwayne Johnson Rampage movie, because it's all about a gorilla that gets really big and a wolf that gets really big. And I was looking at the trailer going, if it doesn't end with Dwayne Johnson getting really big and punching a wolf, what's the point? And it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, what
that would have been that would have been fun, but also Rampage was based on a video game, so
who cares, man? People want Dwayne Johnson to punch the wolf. Just let it happen.
I mean, he could have done it anyway. I'd have had him say the same size, but had him like run and jump a ridiculous. You know, like when they did the skyscraper poster, and someone calculated his jump and said he would absolutely miss.
Right. Yeah.
I would want him to do one of those impossible jumps and just punch this wolf at regular size and still manage to knock it flying.
This is what I want. I want the next sequel where it's like, I want a Megalodon fighting Godzilla. I want a massive Jason Statham, but live action regular size Dwayne Johnson, and they're all kind of getting involved. That'd be quite good.
I think for a good sequel would be Kong, because Godzilla and Kong are friends now, right? Let's do like a buddy comedy type deal, or like something a bit like Rush Hour, where it's like
there's like a drugs case.
Yeah, but on a massive scale. Like, I don't know, something like that. Like they're going around the world solving crimes, but the crimes of like huge, out of control creatures.
Are they driving a convertible, like a massive car?
Well, yeah, we could design a convertible for them.
No, it'll be Godzilla like is going through the water with Kong on his back.
I was gonna say, Kong needs to ride Godzilla like a horse.
And it's like, this guy, Kong loses his patience with Godzilla, and vice versa. They can't they sort of tolerate each other, but they really do respect each other. And by the end of the film, they're sort of like, you're actually all right, kind of thing, because they've solved the crime. That's the sequel right there.
They've got this rivalry because Godzilla keeps giving him shit that Godzilla won that fight, and Kong's like, oh no, I could have definitely taken you.
Then maybe the post credits is that they have a little sparring sesh privately in a private gym. Just a little get the pads out.
Meanwhile, millions are dying around him. It's like,
which monster plays the police chief that's constantly on their back about getting it done, and then he takes their badges and guns off them halfway through?
I picture the mammoth. That's like an old. A big elephant or a mammoth.
You get Ray Romano to voice him.
Yeah.
You have Mothra as the femme fatale.
Yeah. Singing on a piano. I like the idea of Godzilla and Kong like go swimming together but cause a tsunami because they're doing bombs in the water and like just wipe out a whole city and they're just like swimming about together, splashing each other, just causing tsunamis.
Do you like a recreation of the beach montage in Rocky? But like Kong and Godzilla,
they're racing each other up the beach.
Yeah, it's like they're just destroying everything.
You do the Rocky 4 where they're both preparing to fight each other again in two different gyms, but you've got like Kong punching a pad and then just numbers flashing up on screen.
Yeah, 2 billion on the point scoring. That was my sparring idea. That's in Rocky 3. They have a spar in Rocky 3. I'd love that. Basically, play like some 80s music over the top. It's Kong and Godzilla.
Basically, as much as I loved the CGI and I thought the CGI was really good, I just want it to go back to being two guys in costumes slapping each other.
Yeah, I kind of want that as well. It's like we were talking about in the Turtles video. I kind of want to go back to just men in a suit other than animated turtles.
I love the I love the
face.
King.
It's at its day. Like I feel like we're past costumes now.
But it's not. It's back. No, everybody's doing nostalgia. There is no modern movies anymore. We're just recreating old stuff. Just get the suits, man.
I think if you have the suits as a base, that's fine. But you can't release a film now where it's just the suits.
You can't. You can't, man.
I was really annoyed that because when they did Godzilla being carried through the air. And when they did Kong being carried through the air, and then they did Godzilla being choked with the axe, I was like, oh, they're gonna do homages to the old film, and I actually turned around and said, oh, I can't wait for them to do the bit where Kong picks up a rock and throws it at Godzilla, and then Godzilla hits it back with his tail, and then Kong volleyballs it back at him, and then Godzilla headbutts it back at him, and it just does that for 10 minutes, where they're just batting this rock backwards and forwards.
Axe thing is like a baseball bat, just knocks it out the park. That'd be pretty good. Each time they hit it, it gets smaller and smaller, kind of thing. Then
when they released them originally, Christian, were they meant to be oh, isn't this a bit silly and naff, or was at the time was it oh, look at this really cool action scene?
The first one is in fact the first couple have
I mean specifically that rock bit, that kind of thing.
Oh, that was meant to be sort of over the top ridiculousness. Yeah. I mean. There is clear points in that film. There's a point where, Godzilla has fallen over, and you see him roll onto his stomach, where it's clearly the guy in the costume trying to get back up, and he can't because he's got a tail. And he puts his hands on the ground and pushes up to go get up, and then because they're on gravel on this tiny little model set, he slips on the gravel and falls forward, and his face just slams into the floor, and they've just left it in the film because they've been yeah, one take, whatever.
That's what I want. That's dumb.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
I still think
unfortunately it'd make about a tenner. So.
Probably.
Yeah.
I saw a thing earlier today. It was saying that when in the original first few Godzilla films, the guy who was inside the suit, they could only record for 3 minutes at a time because it was so hot and sweaty. He would pass out and get lightheaded if they tried to do it for any longer.
That's what you want out of a good practical suit, though, isn't it? You want to almost kill the actor inside.
Yeah.
Like Anthony Daniels in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Having a cutabout in Tunisia in 50 degrees Celsius whilst encased in an iron suit. That's what you want.
You got to suffer for the art.
Wasn't the reason that he moved so stiffly in certain scenes because there was literally screws that if he moved too much they'd embed themselves into him?
Yeah,
he just had grooves in him where the screws were to hold the suit together.
That first Star Wars film is so slapped together.
Yeah,
in the best way possible.
Yeah, it's a great example of a film coming together in the edit. I don't know if you've seen that one video, James. Someone's put together a video. I think it's literally entitled "How Star Wars Was Saved in the Edit," and it is genuinely an absolute mess before George Lucas's wife got hold of it and
I've heard.
Sorted it all out. And went, nah, this doesn't work. You need to put this here, cut this scene, stick that at the beginning, put this at the end, and now it works. And Star Wars.
I do love the behind the scenes of Star Wars and how much some of them suffered, and it just how much George Lucas was I don't care, you're gonna wear this suit. Because I remember a story because Anthony Daniels and Kenny Baker didn't really like each other. They had like an on-set rivalry.
That's amazing.
So like Anthony Daniels used to walk past when Kenny Baker was in the R2-D2 costume and push it over.
He's a bad man.
But
bad guy.
Kenny
Very
Baker
nice.
used to get him back by it take him ages to put on the C-3PO gear, so he'd wait until everything was on except the head, and then he'd pop round the corner and be like, right crew, dinner time, come on, time, everyone to craft table, and they'd just leave Anthony Daniels stood there in the suit minus the head, and he'd have to try and go and have lunch in the full C-3PO get up. They used to just taunt each other with their suits.
I'm still like shocked that there's actually a person inside R2-D2. Like, why would you not just have that be remote control? Why is it any easier?
Wasn't someone inside it?
They had no money.
Is it like was he controlling
It's like
it?
Daleks. There's people in a Dalek.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they.
I don't understand.
I think it's probably cheaper to put a bloke in a tin can, have him push it, than have a fully
But he's not moving.
animatronic.
He's having to. No, but it is the animatronic. He's not physically moving R2-D2.
He's got a remote control pad.
It's not like the
inside
Flintstones where his feet are
R2-D2.
sticking out the bottom, walking along.
That's how I envisioned it.
Someone should have just
They grouped
said,
it out.
"This remote control works outside of R2-D2."
Why do I have to get in?
I was gonna
George, I don't need this. I'm getting in. Oh.
Stay in.
I was going to say it was.
Get in the can. Get in it.
It was probably one of them. It was probably one of them things where they were like, "Oh, we've got the control, but it's wired. So do you just want to sit inside because we don't want to see the wire?" And they're like, Kenny Baker's like, they're shoving him in, and he's like, "Can you not just edit it out in post?" And they're like, "No, get in the can."
Lid on. There's an amazing bit in a Red Letter Media video where Mike says, "Do you think they put Kenny Baker in BB-8?" And he's just like spinning across it.
It'd be great if, like, the whole shoot, Kenny Baker's thinking, right, I'm controlling R2-D2, this is fine, and then on the final day, you see someone with a remote control. It's like, what? What do you mean you? It's like, I've been controlling R2-D2. It's like, they just stuck him in there.
It's always been one huge elaborate prank.
Anthony
Daniels
Daniels.
is a prank like that.
Daniels.
You can't tell him that is.
Kenny Baker's like, "Why am I doing this? R2-D2 doesn't speak. I don't make the beep noises, and I'm not even controlling him. Why am I inside this
getting
suit?"
paid.
You've got to keep it weighted down somehow.
You're getting paid.
We did briefly mention what we'd want to see from a future Kong Godzilla film, but to bring us nicely into our hypothetical, if you could have, I'll say either Kong or Godzilla go up against another gigantic monster, what would it be? It doesn't have to be a monster that's already gigantic. You can take a small monster, just make it big, because that's what they did with Kong. They just put him up to Godzilla's size and were like, and fight.
I mean, look, if you're talking about wanting to watch an animal that's been enlarged fighting something, there's no answer other than a giant mutant turtle.
Oh.
Obviously, you've got to get the Ninja Turtles involved.
Are you having all of them? Or are you picking one turtle?
I don't care.
I know who I'd pick. I'd pick Raph.
I mean, Raph would definitely... No, because Raph would be too easy. Raph would kick the shit out of him.
Well, yeah.
Nah, you want Mikey. You want some fun in this.
Okay, yeah.
You want it to get a bit wacky.
Okay. A big... I wonder...
He, like, at one point picks up a train car and swings them for his nunchucks.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
They just like... It just be one of them comical moments where they're like, you know, like giant Leo is walking through the streets. He's like, "Oh, Godzilla's coming towards me. I need my swords." And then he'd turn around and there'd be like a toy shop that has two giant katanas behind its sign. And he's like, "Oh."
Yeah. I would have it be the 90s one again. So it's the man in the suit with the animatronic mouth versus the full CGI Godzilla. Whoa! Dude! What? Oh my god! That's fine. I like that idea, James. Just a
Thank
big
you.
karate...
Yeah, man. Not even just a regular turtle. Like, it's got to be the Ninja Turtle.
It's just a massive turtle. A really slow moving turtle. Can I do mine?
You can.
Yeah.
Godzilla versus Kronk
What, from Emperor's New Groove?
from Emperor's New Groove. I would have that big awful idiot. It's the same animation, so it's his 2D animation self, and it's the same like Yzma's giving him a poison, a bit of a vial to make him really big, and he has a big old Patrick Warburton has a big old fight with a Godzilla. That's what I would do.
That's so left field. Where have you come from that with?
Because I thought Kong sounds. It's just got the Kong sounds a bit.
So you want Kong versus Kronk?
Yeah, well, I could do Kong versus Kronk. That'd be quite good as well.
Get Krang involved.
I was going to say
so you got Krang versus Kronk versus Kong.
Oh my god!
To be honest, I have been calling it Gronkzilla versus Krang all day.
It's so weird that it's not. Why isn't it Kong versus Godzilla? It sounds so much better.
Because that was the original one, so it was like doing something different.
Well, the original one was King. They don't even refer to him as King Kong in this film at any point.
Movies don't care, but
No,
like
they don't,
the new Halloween's called Halloween.
Yeah, I know, and it's really annoying.
But like, if they're doing it anyway, you might as well call it Kong versus Godzilla.
No, because if they're doing it, you might as well make it different so that you can now differentiate them when you're talking about.
It's because the original one is called King Kong versus Godzilla, and in that film, King Kong wins. Technically.
So Godzilla's got top billing.
This time Godzilla's got top billing, and Godzilla won technically.
Batman versus Superman. Batman won.
Well, Freddy
might be something to that.
In Freddy versus Jason, Jason wins. Spoilers.
Well, you've ruined my theory.
Well, I would have probably a giant R2-D2 complete with a giant Kenny Baker inside fighting Godzilla. My real pick.
I mean, that would have been acceptable, to be honest.
I was going to say a giant Charles Bronson, because me and Ben watched some Charles Bronson clips. I'd like to see that.
Not the prison inmate, not the actor. I thought you meant the actor.
Not the actor. Well, both. Do both.
Yeah.
Charles Bronson and Charles Bronson versus Godzilla.
Yeah. But maybe to allude to a film me and Ben watched the other day, as recommended by Ben's father.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to Ben's dad. We watched a film called Possum the other day.
Oh, this was weeks ago, Dad. It was so long ago.
It wasn't weeks ago. It's about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That's weeks ago. More than
always the definition of weeks ago.
I was going to say that's 1 week off literally you being able to say it was a month ago.
Sorry, I ruined your flow, lad. I just like the other day implied like Monday.
The other day implies 2 or 3 weeks, you know.
Go on, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, but anyway, Possum. It was it's a pretty strange film, wasn't it, Ben?
Yes.
It wasn't really about a spider that the guy kept in a bag.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of metaphor and stuff like that, you know, highbrow stuff.
So it has a character with a big kind of duffel bag, right? And he's carrying this duffel bag around, and when he pulls it out, some massive spider legs get out of it. And me and Danny were like, "Oh my god, it's just a film about a guy carrying around a giant spider for some reason."
It was horrible.
And it's one of the most like horrific looking things. It's a puppet. The actual film, it's a puppet. It's spider's legs, but like a human head, and it's like a weird like death mask. It's a cast of the actor's face, and it's just the way they use it in the film is so horrifying. I found
horrific.
It really horrific and unsettling.
But yeah, the film's about more than that. It's sort of the spider is a metaphor for something else, shall we say? But I want to see that puppet blown up to like 1,000 foot tall, just to psychologically defeat King Kong before any blows have actually been had.
It's just hiding behind buildings, looking really
terrifying.
Freaky,
it would terrify him.
Yeah.
It would really, really mess with him. It'd be
psychological
like,
battle.
Exactly.
Because that's what you want from a big monster flick.
I want psychology. I want to know what's going on within the psyche of the monkey. Who is he? What are his motivations, his passions, his ambitions, his fears?
I would blow up and do a giant version of something like The Thing. Just see how Godzilla can adapt to something that, you know, have a story where the Thing has absorbed the other kaiju and mimicked them so that it can create bits of each monster that Godzilla's fought before. You know, have it be like a hybrid thing. That would be quite interesting.
Oh, actually, you've given that actual thought.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Or have Batman, but not blow him up. Not blow him up. Just regular sized Batman, because everyone says, "Oh God, Batman could beat anyone with prep time." Go on, I want to see how he beats Godzilla with
Has
prep
that
time.
happened? Like, surely by now there's been a comic.
Which
where
Batman?
There should have been a Godzilla versus Batman.
Who are you picking? I think there's only one answer.
Are we talking
Adam
like
West.
actor Batman?
Well, there's Keaton's Batman, there's Kilmer's, Clooney's, Bale's, Affleck's, and
Adam West. I'm
And
telling
West
you,
Batman.
that's the only one. He'd have a Godzilla spray.
I was going to say I'd have two battles. If I was going to have Godzilla in the costume, if it was costume Godzilla, I'd have Adam West Batman, because that'd be hilarious. Because he'd like trip it over with something. I don't know. You just have this man in a costume flailing about. But if we're going CGI Godzilla, probably Keaton.
I was thinking it's Clooney.
Really?
because his film is the most silly and it has the most insane kind of style of gadgets. He, in his version, I mean, it's Keaton. They're the same person. He's the guy that could he's the most experienced. Like Affleck and Bale, they're too real world. Like, Affleck's just going to get that car and try and shoot at it. And then I don't know what Bale's going to do.
Bale would literally just fly towards him and try and punch him in the nose, and Godzilla would be like, no, sorry.
Yeah. I think it's Clooney or West are the ones that could bring it down.
Yeah, West would be a great one because of the ridiculous gadgets, and especially if you got rid of the CGI Godzilla and had the original man in costume, rubber scales.
Think of all the puns that Robin could give.
Exactly.
I can't think of any, but
I can't think of any either. But there would be some, and they would be great. Anyway, so we're gonna close off the podcast now and go back and do what we recommend. So, does anyone want to start with what they'd recommend? Anyone got anything?
Have you got anything?
I've got I sat down and watched all of the Resident Evil films.
Would you recommend them then?
I would recommend them.
I feel like it's coming to the. We're gonna have to watch them, aren't we? And just kind of. I will say.
I will say. I heard the news. I'm sort of a big Resident Evil fan. I played all of the main title games. Maybe not all the way through, because I kind of got bored in 5 and 6. They weren't very good. The best way to play 6 is to just play it co-op and just keep spamming the kick button, because you can kill every zombie in the game with a kick.
Oh,
pretty
nice.
much.
That's your kind of game, that, James. Nice and easy. No challenge whatsoever.
If that goes on offer, I'll absolutely pick it. Because even as Christian was saying that, I was like, the thing I didn't like about the 7th one was how much it limits your bullets. I was like, I can't be arsed having to be clever with these. Just let me run and gun, man.
It limits your bullets in the others, but like in 5 they introduce like a push feature, and then in 6 you literally do a roundhouse kick every time you press melee.
Game.
But anyway, yeah, with the new film being closer to the games, I sat down and I was like, I've never actually seen any of the other films, and I own them on DVD, so I'm finally going to sit down and watch them. What a random roller coaster of films. Like, honestly, the first film, I already knew what I was getting into. It is very, like, of the year it was made. Like, the CGI is wonky. The zombies are kind of half-assed. They've not really done anything with their makeup. They've just been like, and blood, and
Nice.
that's a zombie.
What year did it come out? Sorry.
2002.
Oh, it's right around the corner. That.
Yeah, it's like very end of the 90s, beginning of the 2000s in the way it looks and feels. And Mila Jokovich's character Alice is. She wakes up, she has amnesia, she has no memory of why she's there, what she's doing, ends up being taken as a civilian into this underground bunker to fight zombies. But there's a point where she ends up split off, and she's starting to remember that she was actually an Umbrella soldier, an agent at this facility. And there's entire points of the film where, like, a zombie dog will run towards her, and she'll just suddenly turn around, slow-mo will hit, and she'll run up a wall and flying kick a dog in the side of the head and kill it. And I'm like, why is that your first reaction? There's one point where she's talking to Michelle Rodriguez and then turns, sees a zombie, the jump scare music hits, she goes, jumps up, grabs a pipe, grabs the zombie's head with her thighs, and then spins in such a way that she snaps its neck. And I was like, why is that your like knee-jerk reaction?
That sounds
if it
like,
works.
That sounds right up my street.
Yeah. The first film, it semi-follows the game plots. The second film introduces actual game characters and basically does the plot of the third game. And I was like, okay, maybe they are going to the plots. Third film, literally glancing blows to Resident Evil plot. By the third film, it barely resembles Resident Evil.
I've heard that, because I've seen the first three a long time ago. The third one's like a desert, and they're like, there's no water. But in the fourth one, it's just everything's back. All the water's back. All the mountains.
Basically, like the first film, in a facility. The second film, the city above the facility. The third film starts with, it's been 5 years since the previous film, and the entire world has been wiped out. There's maybe 4,000 humans left alive, and it's like, oh, okay.
Christ.
Yeah, it's
the Nevada wasteland, and then there's no water. And then in the next film, they're in like Tokyo, and it's pouring it down with rain.
So, which was your favourite?
It's hard to say. I really liked 2 because it was like sort of close to the games, but still ridiculous. Like, there's a point where they're in a church, and Alice comes crashing through the windows, poorly CGI'd on a motorcycle. Spins the motorcycle around, rides it into this creature, backflips off it as it hits the creature, and then double pistol shoots the gas tank so it explodes. But yeah, I will say that the fourth film rivals 300 for slow motion.
Oh, Lord.
Honestly, there's moments where she's just like slow-mo runs along with it. Each film gets more and more slow motion. And then the last film has not one shot of slow motion. In fact, the quick cuts in the fight sequence, like we were talking a few weeks ago about the Winter Soldier fight where it like quick cuts between. It's like that, but imagine twice as many quick cuts, and it does it for like a full 10-minute fight sequence. I was like motion sick by the end of some of the fight sequences. I was like, this is hurting my brain. They need to slow down.
What's your favourite Resident Evil game, Christian?
I mean, I played them out of order because I was too young to play them when they came out, and I got back into them when the remakes came out. So like the remaster of the first one came out, the HD version.
It looked really solid.
And I enjoyed that.
They come out on GameCube.
Yeah, it was like
you guys
PlayStation 1 GameCube era. My favourite, I highly recommend the second game has a really good story anyway. I highly recommend the remake that they did of Resident Evil 2. It's so good. I mean, 3 is good as well, but 2 is just fantastic. And especially with all the remastered content, it has like 7 games worth of stories in it.
I think I've played. Is the second remaster where it's like a giant? He's not a Terminator, Mr. X.
Mr. X.
I played that because my mate was like, I had no context. He was like, just play this, because he just wanted to laugh at me.
Yeah,
He did it with me in Dark Souls. He was like, just play that and see and I'll laugh at you. Yes, right.
Yeah. Mr. X is the character that you cannot kill no matter what, and he just stalks you throughout that section of the game permanently, and will just clothesline you at any point he can.
Have him fight Godzilla.
That would actually be interesting, but
That'd be
more
well
interesting.
good.
In the third game, they have another. He's not invincible, but he is very hard to kill. Like, you will waste entire clips of ammunition trying to kill him. You've got to use explosives. The third game is Nemesis, who is like Mr. X, but he can jump like the Hulk long distance. He can run, and he has arms that turn into long tentacles that can grab you at distance, and his other arm is a rocket launcher. So he's literally like Mr. X, but 10 times more powerful, and just stalks you constantly throughout the game, and it's horrendously hard at points.
That's a character where they've put words on a board, right? Rocket launcher, tentacles,
Lovecraft,
Hulk jump, and they've got a dart and gone, and they've just gone that one, and then
they've drawn.
I mean, honestly, you keep like killing him throughout the game, and then he'll turn up later, bigger, bulkier, with like more tentacles, like a flamethrower. There's one point where he literally just turns into a giant mass of flesh.
Ooh.
But I'd have to say the second game is my favorite. I know that a lot of people's Resident Evil favorite is the fourth. The second game, the fourth game is very good, and the seventh was like great because it was a real departure, and the demo for the eighth game is really interesting because it's a real departure, like the fact that they're going for like vampires and werewolves instead of zombies.
Mommy.
Yeah, Lady Dimitrescu.
Nah, she's the Dommy Mommy. Let's just call her what she
her
is.
fight Godzilla.
she's already tall enough.
Yeah.
She's already the size. Have her
Oh dear. I remember the first Resident Evil was to that point in my life was one of the scariest images I've ever seen, when that freak zombie turns around, you know, when you discover it in the room right at the start, and he's like feasting on something on the ground, and then he just sort of turns around to look at you. Like, I'd never seen anything so terrifying when I've seen that. Stayed with me.
All 4 pixels.
It's the zombie
Yeah,
it's the zombie in the cupboard in that game. It's like a big thing for everyone, where you walk into a room and it's like a tiny little room, and as you walk past the cupboard door bursts off and a zombie literally lunges out and grabs you.
The thing is with sorry.
Even as an adult, I was like, no.
The thing is with the Resident Evil scenario, James said all 4 pixel as well. Actually, back in the day, you'd look forward to the cutscenes because they were done full motion video, pre-rendered cutscene, and you'd be like, "Oh, this is a treat." I remember the one, like, seriously,
you can see what's happening.
Seriously, like, you would look forward to it, and you go, "The graphics are so good! Oh my god!" Like on Tomb Raider, like there's loads of those cutscenes, and you'd be like, "Yes." Looking back at them now, though, they are so basic and simplistic. But then it seemed like the most amazing thing ever. Yeah. And so the one in Resident Evil was a cutscene, pre-rendered cutscene, and it was just like terrifying.
Mean, that's the thing that carried on into like the beginning of the like PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 era, where like a cutscene had played and it was all like nicely. The reflections were good and it looked great, and then all of a sudden it had cut to black and then cut to the game, and you'd be like, oh. The game does not look like that.
But my thing with games is it's always such a thing of when it releases and you look at it like, whoa, this is incredible. It's like almost like lifelike. Give it 4 or 5 years and it looks like shit. Like, games age so quickly.
It's your mind's eye fills it in. It's really weird. Like going back. When you go back to your PS2 games, you're like, oh, how did I play it?
It was on an SDTV for a start. Like, it wasn't like it wouldn't have been. So it would have been this kind of blurred, kind of, you know, not very detailed anyway. But all the remasters now that are coming out of the older games, they're how we remember them, like in our nostalgic minds. So
that's why I like that Halo did the option where you could press a button and it reverted back to original one, so you could compare it. I thought that was a nice little touch.
And it's stark. It's like, whoa, it was so basic, but you know, you filled when you were a kid, you just filled it in. It was, you know, use your imagination to fill it in.
That was definitely a thing for me with the Resident Evil games, because I played through the HD remaster of 1, then the full remasters of 2 and 3, and then I was like, play through 4. Booted up 4, and 4 has just been ported. It's not been remastered or done up or anything. And one of the things they've done with the remasters is they've changed all the controls. And I got to 4, and 4 has the original Resident Evil controls, where shoot is square and reload is circle and aiming is through the D-pad and not the right analog stick. And I was like, how can how did anyone play this?
It's like when you go like old games, X or A was your accelerate car button, and now that just feels so wrong.
It's so weird.
On PS2, I think they had analog buttons where like you press the button down lightly, like if you were playing Gran Turismo or something, if you pressed it down lightly, it would accelerate more kind of like gradually. It's like, and then someone just thought, oh, we should probably put accelerate on the trigger. It makes
it's
more
like
sense.
in Halo, accelerate was the analog stick. It's the analog stick.
It's like all
still
those
is now, though, isn't it?
It's like all those years that it's like all those years that shoot was on, like
shoot.
Yeah, the shoot button was square, and then they were like, "Oh, we should probably put it on like the bumper, the top." No, they were like, "We should probably put it on the bumpers," and then they're like, "Wait, why are we putting it on the bumpers? The bottom buttons are literally called triggers. Why have we not put guns on those?"
There is a channel, Chris, you might have heard of it, that I would recommend. People just check it out, and you might like it. It's called Summoning Salt. And basically, this guy, every sort of month or 2 months or whatever, he'll put together like a 45-minute video that goes into granular detail about famous speedrunning attempts of like famous old retro games. So he's done one on the Mario games, he's done one on like the old Donkey Kong games, and like loads and loads of old games he's done. And it's just weirdly watchable because the sort of techniques that they kind of come up with, the speedrunning community, to challenge themselves to get it faster and faster and faster, the glitches and exploits they find to basically just break the game. It's actually really fascinating. And this one channel, Summoning Salt, puts together the videos in a really watchable way. Like, it's got this really cool kind of synthwave soundtrack throughout it, and it's just very it's very much up my street.
I was going to say, are you more of a fan of the glitched or glitchless speedruns? Because I know there's a full sect of like speedrunners who are like, glitched speedruns don't count. They only count if they're glitchless. I think glitch ones are cooler because you've got to know exactly how to exploit.
I think there's an element of like, let's find like how exactly we can do this the best within the realms of like what's possible, and if that means like glitch through a wall or figure out some weird sort of exploit that saves us 15 minutes, do it. Like that's part of the fun, I think.
Yeah, my thing with the glitch ones is I find it really interesting that the game is built that way. Like, it's the kind of thing of, in the sort of geography of the game, if you break through this wall, you end up in this other completely different place. It's like, it's interesting that it's built that way. I just kind of think that's cool.
There's one on the Super Mario on the first Mario game. They've worked out how to the one for the NES, the original Super Mario's Bros or Brothers or whatever where they've managed to complete that game in 4 minutes 55 seconds, and it's just like, it's a hit. The Summoning Salt video that he does is basically like a history of how they've discovered all these little techniques, like you can glitch through this one specific wall if you land perfectly on this pixel at exactly the right frame, because there's like 30 or 60 frames per second, I can't remember, but it's like precision, and it's ridiculous how they managed to find it out.
I love the ones of like 3D games where they figured out how to like juggle items. I mean, I always see it in like professional Counter-Strike games where they'll need to get a gun to somewhere else, so they'll buy the gun, throw it in the air, and then as it's coming back down, shoot it at such an angle that it flies across the map and lands where they need the gun to be for when they can pick it up later.
It's mental. It's mental. Honestly, the amount of time that goes into these speed runs from some people, like literally 5,000-6,000 runs through a game before they actually perfect it. I don't know if I admire it or I'm just morbidly sort of curious, but it's interesting either way.
You're glad they did it, so you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Better them than me,
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you all for watching another episode. Please like and subscribe. If you've made it this far, comment down below. Tell us that you've made it this far. We know that some of you don't make it to the end. And if you have made it to the end, then you'll know that you're not one of those people. We probably should have said this at the beginning. But
we always say,
who do you think should have won, Kong or Godzilla?
Yeah. We always say, if anyone's made it this far, leave a comment in the comment section, and no one ever leaves a comment.
No one ever makes it this far.
So everyone's gone now. It's just us four.
It's just us four shouting into the void.
It's like in a restaurant, everybody's gone. The staff want you to go. We're just sat in the corner.
We're literally just on the close at 3 a.m.
I was gonna say basically we're just doing a cinema close but remote.
Yeah.
Oh well, it's kept us sane.
Half a year of this bullshit.
Bye. That's it.
I was gonna say you actually need to use that one.